Oh, my hair is growing back. We're gonna give this a few minutes to see if we can get some people in the room. That's what we about to do. Yeah. Mm. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button. What's up, everybody? So it seemed like the Democrats is all in an uproar about this gerrymandering redistricting, saying it's unconstitutional to have an all black or all white voting block. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it at all. Because I'm tired of these black boule ass Negroes who are gatekeepers of the Illuminati running these districts and telling you to vote blue no matter who, and they ain't did shit for you since the 60s. They ain't did a damn thing for black folks since the 60s. And you keep voting for them for what? That's what I want to know. Hey, sweetie, how are you? And you vote blue no matter who. They ain't did shit for you since the 60s. I'm glad the Supreme Court ruled. Hey, therapy. Hey, love. I'm glad the Supreme Court ruled that all black districts is unconstitutional. I'm really glad, so we can get them black boule gatekeepers of the Illuminati out of office. They ain't did shit for us since the 60s. And that's a fact. Like, share, subscribe, hit the like button. I'm back, I guess. I'm finally feeling better. I'm glad. And the Democrats got the black folks scared, talking about that they done took away they vote black folks voting rights. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You can still vote. Your right to vote has not been taken away. That was some bullshit, a scare tactic. So then you got your Al Sharpton Black Boule, you got the damn Roland Poley Martin Black Boule telling y'all all that bullshit and y'all falling for the shit. And it don't make no sense. You did not lose your right to vote. It's crazy. It's insane. But what is showing, good morning, Navir. But what is showing, thank you. But what is showing is time. They power is running out. Finally, um, Americans have woken up. You know what? You can get the fuck on, Heidi, because I don't have an attitude, but I don't like your damn comments. So you can leave for real. Right. And that's what I'm saying, therapy. That's what they're doing, trying to scare people up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Trying to scare people and they believe they done lost their right to vote. This is insane. Well, people, I mean, it's insane. That's why I had to come and do a video. The Supreme Court ruled regarding redistricting, making it harder to challenge maps on racial backgrounds and enabling a redistricting war. In Louisiana versus Callis, the court ruled that creating majority black districts can be an unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, allowing states to prioritize political goals over racial demographics. What's wrong with that? All it does is keep the same people in power. What's that guy, the black Boule man out of North Carolina? Now he's gonna lose his seat like Jasmine Clark, as he should. He's black Boule. He don't care nothing about black folk. Like Jasmine Crockett lost her seat. Um, what's the other guy? People are waking up. Al Sharpton, you no longer have the power you used to. Boule Martin, you don't have the power you used to. Black folks is making up. Right, therapy, right. These both broken exactly and niggas and they black boule gatekeepers of the Illuminati. Democrats ain't did shit for a nigga. I'm gonna tell you this, Aaron, since the 60s. What have they done for you? Nothing. And that's a fact. And I'm sitting up here, I got many degrees, Aaron. And I'm glad, I hope you timed his ass out too. Anyway, so I'm glad of it. Exactly. And I mean, they was a party, and the Democratic Party was a party for the KKK anyway. Remember, they was called the Dixiecrats. Talk about know your history, bitch. The Dixiecrats. Made me cuss. Okay, so now, here go the key takeaways. The court found that Louisiana's addition of second majority black district was unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, indicating a shift that prioritizes partisan intent. Partisan intent is ensuring a Democratic vote. And that's why now it's 122 Democratic seats up for election because this has been ruled unconstitutional. Indicate a shift that prioritized partisan intent over racial fairness. Oh, now you done said something when you said third letter Masons. Now you done said something. Y'all hit that like button. Thank you. Challengers must show a strong interference of intentional race discrimination rather than just showing that political calculations resulted in racial bias. Come on. Now they say you're going to have to come with documentation, not just saying it's racial bias. The court is facing emergency applications from states like Alabama and Louisiana, allowing for or considering mid decade map changes which could alter the balance of power in the House. Dems up to lose 122 seats. And this is what I say. About damn time. Maybe you'll change what you represent. Transgender, uh, immigration, bring all illegals in, open borders. Maybe you change your way of what the American people want. Abortion, killing all the black babies. Everything you stand for is against God, and that's a fact. The court has continued to rule that partisan gerrymandering gerrymandering is not easily justifiable while simultaneously nearing the definition of illegal racial gerrymandering. So here go the major court cases coming up. Alabama officials had asked the justice to allow a map with only one majority minority district for 2026 elections, challenging previous federal court blocks. And see, thank you, therapy. And that's the thing. It makes you compete for office, and you don't have these Maxine Waters, another one been in office 5,000 years. Bitch, you old. Sit down. You was good during. Now I liked her in the beginning because she got the CIA to admit how they put crack in Los Angeles. That they did that for the Iran. Cause she was good in her heyday, but she done sold out. She another black boule um gatekeeper. Your time is up. Redistrict all that. And then you got some Democratic states, and they have Republicans that live there, and their maps is all blue. How is that fair to not for someone who votes Republican and may want that representative in office? That's not fair. So again, I applaud the Supreme Court. That was a good one. Make these people earn your vote. Make these people earn your vote. Make them work for you and not the other way around. Just giving your vote. Don't vote blue no matter who. The fuck, that's self sabotage. So now, let me tell you. So the appeals court in Virginia, after Supreme Court rule, they threw their whole map out because they had the whole state blue. They don't have one Republican in office. So now the Virginia is appealing. Democrats are appealing a Virginia Supreme Court ruling that struck down a voter-approved redistricting map, which was designed to increase Democratic seats to the U.S. Supreme Court. These decisions are accelerating a redistricting war led by Southern Republican states seeking to redraw district lines, potentially reducing representation of Black and Latino voters. No, no, and that's not true. You don't know that till you vote for your candidate. So that's the basis of that, and I'm gonna get into some videos. Let me see. Excuse me. Republicans get massive win and fight for House with Virginia court ruling, which we just talked about that. And that rule in Louisiana versus Callis is 92 pages, and I damn sure ain't gonna read all that. And that's why they pissing and lying to the people because they got 122 seats that they could potentially lose, and that's why they coming out with all the lies and bullshit. All right, let me get to the videos. Now, this Texas and California clash over redistricting. This is some old. I'm gonna do the old video. You know what? Um, this is how it was until the Supreme Court ruled. So I am gonna do the old ones. In a move that could reshape the political landscape ahead of the 2026 midterms, the Texas Senate has approved a sweeping new congressional map designed to strengthen Republican control.
potentially flipping as many as 5 additional House seats in the GOP's favor. The vote, taken Saturday, marks the final legislative hurdle in a redistricting plan championed by President Donald Trump and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. It's a plan that's sparking fierce backlash and fueling what many are calling a national redistricting arms race. But Texas isn't the only battleground. Just days after the Texas House passed its own version of the map, Democrats in California fired back. On Thursday, they approved their own set of new congressional maps, part of a bold strategy led by Governor Gavin Newsom to counterbalance Republican gains by carving out 5 more Democrat-leading House districts in the Golden State. However, unlike Texas, California faces an additional obstacle. A 2010 ballot measure shifted redistricting authority away from state lawmakers and into the hands of an independent commission. That means Governor Newsom's plan can't move forward without voter approval. A constitutional amendment is now on the ballot for November 4th, when Californians will decide whether to override the commission's maps, a move that could reset the rules of the game. This dramatic escalation underscores a deeper reality. The once-a-decade redistricting process, typically aligned with the U.S. Census, is now turning into a mid-cycle power grab. The White House is watching closely, especially in states like Ohio, where a unique state law requires...
Now, let's see how they ruled about this Texas. Because I think the Supreme Court let that go. I don't quite remember. Let me look that up real quick. Mm. Oh, shit. It done sent me somewhere else. Mm-mm-mm. Supreme Court. Redistricting. Texas. Let's see how they rule because I can't remember. Okay, here we go. So the Supreme Court has cleared the way for Texas to use Republican-drawn congressional map in 2020. I thought they won. I just couldn't remember. In the 2026 elections, reversing a lower court's ruling that found the map was racial gerrymandering. The 6-3 ruling on April 27, 2026 allows the map designed to boost GOP seats to stand with the court citing partisan advantage rather than racial discrimination as the driving force. The Supreme Court stayed and then overruled a lower court ruling from El Paso that had blocked the map, allowing it to be used for the 2026 midterms. The conservative majority deemed the map a product of partisan gerrymandering, which federal courts cannot block, rather than unconstitutional racial gerrymandering. That's the damn difference. That's the difference. Hold on, I gotta take these. Right, Moni Lowe. Right, black votes matter, and now you're gonna give us something for our vote. We just ain't gonna give it to you for free. And I'm not voting for you just because you black. Because I know how you gatekeepers work. You are not for the people at all. You're not for the people. The court noted that the lower court's ruling came too close to election cycle, creating confusion. The 3 liberal justices dissented, arguing the majority ignored the findings that the map unlawfully targeted the voting power of black and Latino, but they lost. Texas Republicans redrawn the map in 2025 to create more GOP leaning seats, a move initiated after calls to maximize partisan advantage for the 2026 midterms. The new map is expected to help Republicans to secure up to 5 additional House seats. They allowed it because it wasn't racial, although it may seem unfair. Okay, so we got that together. So let's go ahead. This is Houston. This is Carol Alvarado. You know who she is? Um, um, Therapy. She wanted to delay.
A live look tonight at the Texas Capitol. The Texas Senate is set to resume proceedings at 11:30 tonight for a planned filibuster in an attempt to block a vote on redistricting. That effort is being led by Houston's Carol Alvarado. 4 years ago, the state senator stood for 15 hours without any food, water, or breaks, trying to block a vote on a bill that placed restrictions on voting. Alvarado says that bill disproportionately suppressed ballots from voters of color and disabled voters. Ahead of tonight's filibuster, she says her fight remains the same, protecting the rights of Texans across our state.
You don't know? Okay. Well, let me do this. Okay.
Well, Texas and California have both taken big steps towards redrawing their congressional districts. Governor Gavin Newsom signed yesterday to send the new map to voters, and Texas's full Senate is expected to vote on that state's plan today. Our Jason Allen sat down with Governor Greg Abbott and asked if pushing for redistricting was worth it, given the other states now trying something similar. One of the things that was exposed to this whole process was the way that all of these blue states had already gerrymandered their states so dramatically. There's really hardly any Republicans they could squeeze out.
I said that. I said that.
Senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, great to see you. So let's talk about this. What comes next for Governor Newsom's redistricting plan in California, and what's been the reaction from state lawmakers? Yeah, an important difference from what's going on in Texas, Michael, because in California they've essentially passed a series of bills that the governor signed last night that set up a special election in November, asking voters to sideline or suspend the use of a redistricting commission until after the 2030 census and allow Democrats to draw the maps, those proposed maps on the right, that would be used next year in 2028 and in the 2030 elections. It's going to require raising hundreds of millions of dollars for this campaign to get people motivated for it, to pay for the operation of it, but that's the way it's going to be done in California. Unlike in Texas, where you saw the minority Democrats leave the state because they can use different powers that allow them to leave the state for the debate.
Okay, therapy.
They weren't happy with it, and they expressed concern with this plan. Take a listen to one of those lawmakers. To Texas as a justification for this proposal. But California doesn't follow. We lead. We don't mirror dysfunction. We set the standard. So you get the idea there. They're saying don't follow Texas's lead, try to rise above it, because in California they had approved the use of this redistricting commission twice in the last 10 years. It's essentially a collection of Democrats, Republicans, and independents who use population data and draw the lines, and it had been supported widely by Californians, but the governor now saying we got to try to drop that and use this Democratic method instead, uppercase Democratic, to try to stave off the Republican gains in Texas. Well, and this redistricting fight looks like it could spread to even more states. It's starting to feel like an escalating arms race. What do we have? So look next to the states of Missouri, Florida, and Indiana, all Republican controlled, or governors or state legislative leaders have said they might consider making changes as well to take maybe one or two districts away from Democrats, draw them in a way where a Republican can win. Then keep an eye on New York, controlled by Democrats, and there's a state constitutional ban on doing essentially what Texas and California are now trying to do, but the governor there, Kathy Hochul, has said she may try to find a way to work around it and see if there's a way to get 3 or 4 or 5 districts in play there as well. It is a bit of an arms race. There isn't much more time, though. You've got to do this probably by the holidays this year.
And it's a war. It's a war. Then the Republicans in California sued to stop the redistricting because basic California is all blue. There is not it's not a lot of Republican representation in California. And y'all got the worst gut. I swear to God, Newsom has destroyed California. I can't stand that man.
Who do we let California voters know are responsible for the maps that they are being presented with? Yeah, it was a collaboration. Yeah, so, who specifically? I don't have the full list right now. Certainly get that to you. So they said this is ridiculous. You can just swap out the number of the bill. As long as you keep the number, you can swap the substance. That would be comically absurd. Look, mail ballots are secure. They cannot be hacked because they're a piece of paper.
That's bullshit. Bullshit.
Republicans are now suing in California to stop their redistricting scam. We know that they're trying to cajole the rules into serving them in response to what's happening in
I gotta get a light.
Of course, using their lawful powers to do this. But in California, there's some interesting things happening, and we're going to go through this lawsuit that's brought by several California government people, including a state senator there, Tony Strickland, Suzette Martinez, Tree Ta, and Catherine Sanchez here, and they're all being represented by somebody over from the Dillon Law Group. She's Harmeet Dillon, you know her. She's, of course, in the civil division at the DOJ, but her firm is still marching on in her absence. California State Elections Committee Chair Sabrina Cervantes. Now, the question, of course, is who is writing the maps? And they don't want to talk about it. And the maps are pretty bad. Like, they're going to flush out Republican seats. There wasn't many left, but they're flushing them out. I mean, like 5 to 8 might be going away. And so the media is asking this lady about who is drawing the maps. But I just want you to listen because this reporter continues to drive at her and she just refuses to answer. Like, who's drawing the maps?
So the Rules Committee was responsible for putting the maps onto our public website.
Got it.
It's the Committee on Elections. And so that has now been posted since Friday and then adjusted on Monday per AB 604.
Okay, so did this committee meet then to draw the lines? I mean, we're just trying to ascertain who exactly is responsible for drawing these maps at this point.
So the criteria has remained the same from the CRC. 76% of the districts remain the same, and that is what Californians
Thank
will
you
see.
for waiting.
There are many folks, stakeholders who had an input on the map process, but ultimately this is up to the decision of California voters, whereas the CRC, which we respect, we want to make sure that there's a nationwide Citizens Redistricting Commission, but the reality is we are in an emergency.
Okay, so they're in an emergency because of what's happening in Texas. So they're not going to follow the rules, right? The CRC, the independent body, so-called, that's going to come in here and redraw the maps. They didn't have them do that, right? They're trying to say, we've got the law who set up this body, like Schwarzenegger did this a while ago, and we want fair districts. Did they draw the maps, lady?
This is our emergency response. We're giving Californians over 2.5 months to review these maps thoroughly and make a decision on whether or not
Excuse me.
this constitutional amendment.
What is it? So is the state Senate Elections Committee redrew these maps?
Like you're ready to say that Senate Rules Committee put these maps, the census tracks onto the website.
So legislators drew the maps? Can we say that too?
Okay, she's not answering. She just says they just put them on the website. Okay, but did the senators draw the map?
Or viewers?
Again, this was from CRC's criteria.
But who was looking over CRC's criteria? We need to create the maps. Was it Paul Mitchell? Paul Mitchell Strategies?
Input again.
So you have to say who drew the map.
She sure ain't answering the question, is she?
CRC. We're remaining consistent, making sure we're keeping communities of interest together, which was important to voters. And we're making sure that we are respecting the Citizens Redistricting Commission. Therefore, we see that only 76% of the voters remain in the district that they will be looking at when they review these maps. And
So it goes on to get the point. She just refuses to answer. And this
Facts.
is what's happening over here because she also, Ashley Zavala, is like, can we go talk to this lady? Hey, lady, who drew the map on this in California? And this is California election chair called Gail Pellerin. She responded to this. She said, who cares who drew the map? When I go to a restaurant, I don't need to meet the chef. I don't need to see who made it.
If that ain't the dumbest shit you ever heard.
Maps that they are being presented with.
There's a lot happening very quickly, and the folks that were drawing the maps went back to the Independent Redistricting Commission's testimony and what they heard during their time when they were deliberating this, and they themselves ran out of time to do the work that they needed to do. And so we're basing these on the Voting Rights Act, and we're looking at really bringing the voters into this process, and that's why we're going to an election on November 4th, because at the end of the day, the voters' voice is what matters. I mean, we're asking because voters back in 2008 and 2010 took the power away from politicians to because they did not like that it was an economic plan. So we just need to know. I mean, that's why. And these are definitely unusual times. We are no longer governing in a democracy. We're governing in an authoritarian government. We are seeing things that we can't.
This is bullshit.
Education, food for children, our immigrant community, our LGBT community, they are getting decimated by this administration. This is an all-out assault. Okay, red herring, sideshow, shiny object.
Right.
Democracy, that's for sure. And your state has been a totalitarian democratic dictatorship for generations now. California's democracy and the rights and values. So we have to move quickly, but we are bringing the vote.
And your democratic policies have destroyed California, and that's a fact. Cause I'll never go. I was there in 2020. I said I'll never go back to that shithole ever. It's awful. It's awful, and it don't make no sense. Cause California was a beautiful state.
On to this process, we're letting them know the maps have been posted on the website. We have this election on November 4th, and at the end of the day, the voters will decide what is important to them and whether they want to adjust these maps to give California the voice it needs in Congress. Opportunities and whether or not state lawmakers or state lawmakers were involved in any state lawmakers at all. Not to my knowledge. So then who adjusted?
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Because if they weren't involved in the process, you would have named names. Quit lying. All y'all do is lie. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to do a part 2. Hold on. All right.
Governor Gavin Newsom and California Democrat legislators are now facing calls for a federal criminal investigation over their corrupt redistricting scheme. We've got the details on a big press conference held today in Sacramento. Plus, we're gearing up the campaign to defeat Newsom's corrupt redistricting scheme at the ballot box, and we need your help. Full details coming up.
This is Carl DeMacchio.
I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California state legislator, and we are continuing our coverage of Governor Gavin Newsom's corrupt, illegal, unnecessary, and unfair redistricting scheme. If you've been living under a rock, you may not know what I'm about to tell you, but summarizing it, Newsom wants to seize power back from an independent Citizens Redistricting Commission that voters created back in 2010 and give the power back to politicians to go behind closed doors and manipulate the lines of election maps for their personal political benefit and for partisan advantage. This is called gerrymandering. And citizens in California said they didn't want to engage in any of that anymore. It's bad. It's corrupt. It means that citizens don't get an accurate or appropriate voice. It means politicians get to choose the voters versus voters choosing the politicians. And it means that there won't be competitive elections, which means, well, it's not a fair process. The citizens created a gold standard here in California with the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. And we need to keep that. We need to defend that for fair elections. So I'm going to be talking a little later about the campaign to beat Gavin Newsom this November 4th, because we're going to go into a special election. And what you can do to participate in that campaign, because we're going to need everyone's help in just a moment. But I do want to bring you up to speed. Also cover the call for a federal criminal investigation into this whole redistricting scheme. And that's the best way to describe it. It is a dishonest scheme. First and foremost, to participate in the campaign to stop Gavin Newsom, please go to the website reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. First, chip in a contribution.
Money Loca, I hope you here and you go there and get that ass. Oh, man, he need to go. Facts. He is awful. So then California passes it.
Because indelibly seared in my consciousness is the memory of my father working tirelessly over decades.
We don't need to hear all that about your daddy.
Undeterred, he reintroduced the Independent Redistricting Commission concept once again in the Assembly, but that effort too failed. And then in 2006, as a state senator, he reintroduced the concept as SCA3, and for the first time ever, the concept of independent redistricting passed one of our bicameral runs. However, as described by Common Cause, quote, somewhere in the 1 minute walk from the Senate clerk's office to the Assembly clerk's office, SCA3 was lost for just long enough to miss key deadlines to keep the bill alive.
Let me go.
His right to form an independent commission and then
anyway, we're not going to listen to all that. But, so California passed the redistricting. Now, this is how redistricting in Texas, how Jasmine Crockett lost her seat. And this is what she had to say, which I can't stand her no way. But anyway.
Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Dallas, thank you so much, and welcome back to Line Politics.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
You bet. So let's talk about this redistricting battle here in Texas that has certainly reverberated across the country. How do you see this shaping out?
I think that you're going to see Texas ram it through because that's what Texas does, with no input whatsoever from the members. And when I say the members, I mean even the Republican members. This map was not created by the Republicans in the House. And so this is a map that was set down from up in D.C. somewhere. And so I think that that map is going to pass. I think that they are overplaying their hand. I don't think that they're actually going to win 5 seats. I think that
you lost yours, and I was happy about it with your ghetto.
One of the things that they tried to do was.
You know why I don't like her? She was born privileged. She went to private school. She went to a private college. Act like it. You are not ghetto, but you appease to that audience. Just be yourself, and you were not. That's why I don't like her.
In the Southern Valley, they tried to write off Vicente, they tried to write off Cuellar, and they did ultimately end up getting one of those 3 seats that they had been shooting for. But the reality is that Henry Cuellar, he ended up winning that seat for re-election. Trump won that seat by 7 points. So, like, he is a unique and capable candidate when it comes to that area. Someone who was elected on the state level, someone who's been elected over and over on the federal level. And so they're trying their best.
Well, you lost your seat to the white man. So this is what the corrupt governor of California had to say.
Let's turn to another big story breaking overnight. The Texas House yesterday passed a new congressional map that could give Republicans 5 more seats after next year's midterm elections. The vote passed along party lines after more than 8 hours of debate. A Texas House Republican who co-sponsored the new congressional map made it clear what this effort is all about.
You want transparency? Here's the U.S. Supreme Court legal transparency. The underlying goal of this plan is straightforward. Improve Republican political performance. Each of these newly drawn districts now trend Republican in political performance. While there's no guarantee of an electorate success, Republicans will now have an opportunity to potentially win these districts. According to the U.S. Supreme Court, you can use political performance. And that is what we've done.
He's just very transparent about that. Say what the plan is. I would now like to know what the plan is to wear a black tie on a black shirt in Texas in August. I just don't know many people that's out to do that. But anyway, Claire, I think we call that a confession if you were a prosecutor. Yeah, I expected Perry Mason to come out. He always gets the confessions right. And, you know, and the sad thing is, part of me has to acknowledge the guy's right about this. The legacy of the Roberts Court is going to end up being not what Roberts wanted it to be. Because the decisions they made in Shelby and other cases, that basically this couldn't have happened before until the Supreme Court said, no, we're kind of tired of that old idea that you can't bust up black districts to deny black representation. The Supreme Court said, yeah, now you can bust up black districts and try to, you know, basically that's what they're doing around the country. But when you black districts. The logic of it was, they said, well, you know what, we moved forward.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit because it's always the same incumbent in the black districts that keeps winning, who've been in office 5,000 years and who do not represent black people because they are gatekeepers of the Illuminati. And that's a fact. Because y'all ain't did shit for black folk in 60 years. Last 50, 60 years, you haven't done not one damn thing. The Asians got a damn crime bill, a hate crime bill under Biden Harris. Black folks been decimated in these streets. We should have got a crime bill. Ain't did shit for you. Mm-mm. Oh, this is a lot. Let me see what time is it? Okay, let me get to the new stuff. Let's get to the new stuff. Damn, I got a lot on this. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'm trying to get to the first one. Well, you got a point there. You got a point there. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna start with this one. Here we go. We're gonna start with Charles Forte. This is Charles Forte.
Interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats, they have shot themselves in the foot. Yeah, I think that's what really happened with this whole Virginia redistricting battle, because now they basically gave Republicans the ammo necessary for them to move forward in southern states, where now they're going to redistrict in order to get rid of these racially drawn congressional lines. We're going to get into that. Following the Supreme Court ruling of how Section 2 of the Voting Rights can be used. So the question now is, what does this all mean? One thing it means, in my opinion, is no more guarantees on what they're calling black representation.
Facts.
Which is really
Facts.
Democrats and liberal media saying, hey, in these places, this is going to be a win for a House seat, and Democrats, they don't want to lose that. And so we got a lot to break down, ladies and gentlemen, but if you do enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up.
I love him. This is Charles Forte.
That way you never miss. And so let's start with this. There's a battle brewing in Louisiana over primary elections. Republican Governor Jeff Landry filed an emergency executive order suspending the primaries just days after the Supreme Court of the United States struck down Louisiana's second majority black congressional district in a decision that could boost Republicans' balance of power in Congress. Democrats in the state filed several lawsuits in response, saying the effort to pause elections is unconstitutional.
Louisiana's Attorney General defended the governor's actions, saying no voting should be held before a new map can be drawn. Other southern states like Alabama and Tennessee are joining that rush to redraw maps after the Supreme Court ruling. The Republican governors of Alabama and Tennessee announcing special sessions for next week. Alabama facing hurdles with this, where they can only actually act if the Supreme Court clears the way. But in the meantime, Tennessee's primary isn't until August, giving lawmakers there plenty of time to redraw that. And weeks after Virginia voters passed a referendum to redraw the state's map, the State Board of Elections was unable to certify those results as legal challenges are playing out in the state's Supreme Court. The referendum approved a new congressional map favoring Democrats 10 to 1, with two Republican-led lawsuits challenging the legality of it. Because of the map changes and extra time needed, House election primaries will now be in August, with early voting starting June 18th. Yeah, and so for years, Democrats have been able to frame these racially drawn
Facts
as representation, but politically, what does that usually mean? It means a safe Democrat seat. They can dress it up however they want, but the math is obvious.
Facts.
If black voters are packed into certain districts, and black voters overwhelmingly, we know it, black voters overwhelmingly are going to vote Democrat. The Democrats aren't talking about representation like they want you to believe. They're talking about protecting their political power.
Facts.
And so now Republicans are looking at these southern maps and saying, why are we drawing districts in a way that basically hands Democrats seats? That's the part Democrats do not want to say out loud. Because in a lot of blue states, especially in parts of the Northeast, Republicans have been basically erased from congressional representation.
Facts.
Republicans are playing the same hardball in the South. Suddenly, everybody now all of a sudden it's like, oh, democracy. I mean, I find that a bit hypocritical if you ask me. But let's get into this clip. CNN and your take on it. Take a listen. This is a new era, John, for this country. I'm not sure people are fully understanding where this puts us. I think that, the reality is that people will start to see states, both red and blue, that's right, start to look dramatically different from the way that they looked like before. And that if you are a person of color in the South, they may eradicate virtually all political representation for you in some of those states. Bullshit. That's an extraordinary. I would rather have it eradicated than the same damn Democrat being in office 5,000 years that haven't done shit for you. I think. Correct. And it's also going to hurt because of the tit for tat element of it. Because of the pushback, it's going to hurt conservative voters in majority blue states because they're going to have their districts chopped up. They're going to have their representative, their citizens are not going to be able to have conservative representation because of the battle. These laws exist.
If you do your job and you represent the people, you shouldn't have a problem, right? Right? If you do good by the people will keep you there. That's a no-brainer. But this is what they really scared of. Hold on, let me go here. Then they had that riot in Tennessee. This is what they scared of. This right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this update is groundbreaking. By now you've heard about the
This is Brandon Lehman. I love him.
To the structural foundation of the Democrat Party's entire existence. After ruling that their meticulous, decades-long, carefully curated institutional advantage, reliance, and protection on racist maps is now unconstitutional. And we knew this was good for Republicans, but now we know that it's even better than we imagined. According to the latest and most accurate information, over half of the Democrats in the House of Representatives are representing districts that are now unconstitutional. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. But let's start with the Department of Justice saying they are going after each one of those unconstitutional districts all across the nation. So the Justice Department announcing this week it plans to use the Supreme Court ruling in Louisiana to challenge other race-based districts across the entire country. Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, Harvey Dillon, spearheading these new efforts as the midterms in November inch closer. This week.
week, Republican Senator Eric Schmidt, who represents Missouri, urging the DOJ to act on the Supreme Court's ruling in Louisiana. Writing in this letter, quote, the department should not wait for private litigants to identify every race-based district one by one. To Linden responding, writing, Senator, we are on it. The DOJ continues to prioritize equal protection of the laws for all Americans in employment, housing, education, and voting. Essentially, what the Supreme Court said is, as applied to these congressional districts, you can't draw a district based on race. Now, any decent person would be thrilled that congressional maps can no longer be drawn on the basis of race, because they shouldn't be. Nor should they be drawn on the basis of any other meaningless, immutable characteristic. But Democrats are absolutely livid, because to them it's not about protecting the black vote or any other morally coded platitude they use. It's because their impenetrable artificial advantage they spent decades constructing to forcefully ram through a radically progressive agenda against the will of the American people has been ripped away from them with a single ruling. They built their entire political machine on the assumption of permanent structural guardrails that would prevent Republicans from competing against them. But before I show you how many Democrats are in Congress because of these racist, now unconstitutional maps, and the number is staggering, let's take a look at the gerrymandering battle, because a couple new Republican states have entered the fray after this Supreme Court decision. From the Morse Report, and shout out to my boy Matt Morse, as always, the current tally sits at California 5, Utah 1, Florida 4, Missouri 1, North Carolina 1, Ohio 2, and Texas 5, for a total of +6 Democrat seats and +14 Republican seats, so an 8-seat pickup for Republicans. But after the Supreme Court ruling and the total annihilation of anti-gerrymandering rhinos in Indiana, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee have entered the fight for a total of 4 gained Republican seats. And at the bottom, you have Virginia's failed gerrymander, which has a 65% chance of getting overturned, according to Kalshi. I predict it's more like 100%, for a likely total outcome of +6 Democrat seats and +18 Republican seats, for a 12-seat advantage going into the midterms. So going into the midterms, we will have at least a 12-seat advantage to where we are right now. And slowly but surely, over the next 2 years leading up to the 2028 elections, you will see the DOJ chip away at every unconstitutional, racially gerrymandered map across America. The dominoes will fall one by one and position us for an even stronger 2028 election. But now let's take a look at the inordinate amount of Democrat seats that are now at risk. This is from Ballotpedia. According to the United States Census Bureau, the district boundaries below correspond to those of the 119th Congress, which convened on January 3rd, 2025. For the purpose of this article, a majority-minority district is defined as any district in which a minority group or collection of minority groups comprise a simple majority of the district's population. In 2024, ladies and gentlemen, there were 148 majority-minority districts in the United States House of Representatives in 28 states. Democrats represented 122 of the districts, and Republicans represented 26 of the districts in 2024. California had the most majority-minority districts with 44 or 85% of its 52 total congressional districts. Texas had the second most with 24, or 63% of its 38 total congressional districts. So just to simplify, 122 out of 212 Democrats in the House of Representatives represent districts that were drawn with race being the primary consideration. This is an extinction-level event for the Democrat Party on the national level. 85%, basically every single Democrat congressional map in California is now unconstitutional. And California has utilized this structural advantage to essentially demoralize the Republicans in the state from being civically engaged, because they've always thought, what's the point? California was drawn in a way to disenfranchise Republicans. But now this will light a fire under the Republican voters in California and blue states across the country that the Democrats, frankly, aren't prepared for. The leading candidate and 2 out of the 5 top candidates for California governor are Republicans. A Republican might pull a historic upset in Los Angeles. And wait till you check out this other piece of bad news that spells doomsday for the Democrats. The Washington Post did a study projecting the impact of a proof of citizenship mandate for national elections. And the result was Donald Trump would have won New Trump goes from losing by 4 points to winning by 3.3 points. And that same trend was shown nationwide. Blue states becoming purple states, some blue states flipping to red states, and red states becoming even redder. And now you have your answer why the Democrat Party is obstructing
Facts.
attempt at voter ID
Facts.
legislation. But the question becomes, why is John Thune refusing to nuke the filibuster to push this through? We just got the most favorable, consequential, historic Supreme Court ruling of the century, and John Thune simply refuses to press our advantage
Facts.
and keep the momentum going.
Facts.
Democrats made it crystal clear, even before this latest Supreme Court ruling on the Voting Rights Act, they're going to nuke the filibuster, they're going to give D.C. and Puerto Rico statehood, giving them 4 more senators and creating a one-party system. They're going to pack the Supreme Court, they're going to give every illegal mass amnesty, and they're going to gerrymander every Republican seat out of existence. And that was before they just got thrown into an existential crisis by the Supreme Court. What do you think they're going to do now? They will cheat and fraud like never before. And that's not even speculation. The city of Los Angeles is planning to let non-citizens vote in their elections. And this is a yes or no question, an answer. So there's an LA council member, he wants voters to decide. He is saying that non-citizens, should they be allowed to vote in local elections? Is this a yes or no, Mr. Pratt? No. Mayor Bass? It depends. It's not a yes or no. Depends on what? Well, first of all, when you say non-citizens, it doesn't mean they're here illegal. It doesn't mean they're undocumented. They could have green cards. They could be here perfectly legal. And there's a lot of states and cities that do that on very, very local elections. We have to see what the councilman is proposing. Councilmember Bremen.
Yeah, I would say, again, it does depend. In other places, school boards have non-citizens.
Mr. Pratt, I have a question for you. You told ABC News. So once again, we reached the end of the Democrat cycle where it's illegals aren't voting in our elections. That's a right-wing conspiracy. To sometimes illegals are voting in the elections, but it's rare and it's sparse. So finally, illegals should vote in our elections, and we should change the laws to allow it. And Democrats will say, oh, but they're only local elections. Cities should be able to determine their own rules. Well, number one, no, the interests of American citizens should never have to compete with the interests of foreigners.
Facts. Facts.
But more importantly, local politics is usually a stepping stone for larger national politics. Think about Pete Buttigieg. He was the mayor, and then he made a presidential run. Think about Gavin Newsom. He was the mayor of San Francisco, then the governor of California, and now he's trying to be president. Kamala Harris, the district attorney for San Francisco, and then she ran for president. So if a local politician can build a coalition, a following, a platform on catering to non-citizens,
Facts.
get elected to implement
Facts.
an agenda that exclusively benefits and prefers non-citizens, and that gains them favor with the far left, then they take their platform to the national level. That is very bad for all of us and only serves to disenfranchise American citizens. And if they ideologically believe that non-citizens should...
Facts. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Hit that like button, y'all. All right, I'm not coming back. I'm about to go to bed. But anyway, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm trying to get back into the groove of things. All right, y'all.